hope you've had a good weekend so far. Cheers, everybody. Hey Tim, how you doing? Have you had a good weekend so far? I'm way behind on cleaning my pipes. My desk is completely inundated with pipes which need cleaning. Yeah, doing well. It's been a bit of a celebratory weekend this weekend. As you know, I did my niece's wedding on Tuesday, and there's like a 7-day sort of celebratory period after a wedding, and so over this Sabbath weekend, we've kind of joined together as a family, and we had a festive meal last night and lunchtime today. So it was really nice. Had a long chat with your dad actually earlier on. Very, very interesting. Always enjoy talking with your dad. Gave him a call. And yeah, it was a really nice chat. Thanks, Tim. So, what I want to talk about tonight is the Matches 860 Memorial Pipe. So, as per our last live session, I kind of toyed with the idea. We were talking about it backwards and forwards. And as I mentioned, I've been in touch with John's daughter, and she was very welcoming of the idea. So, I made a start on a pipe, which I will show you very soon. So I'm going obviously for a 673 KS, the Friday Savinelli. I'm just going to get a picture of it up on the screen. I'm sure you all know what a 673 KS is, but I see we've got 17 people in, nobody else talking besides for you, Tim, at the moment. Anywho, that's the pipe. So it's the classic, this is the Dolomite version. In my one, I'm kind of going to be going with the flow in terms of what the finish is going to be, whether it's going to be smooth, rusticated, part rusticated. Hey North Country Fisher, hey Maui, how you doing? Thank you very much, Maui, appreciate that. So I'm really going to go with the flow on this one. It's going to be quite a kind of a live, kind of on the spur of the moment decision on each stage of the pipe. So on the 673, so you've got a whole sort of region of areas that you can play with. So you've got obviously the main stummel, the heel, then you've got the bit where it goes in, where it's tapered in, which makes it essentially, I guess, a rhodesian. And then you've got a rim, which is quite narrow on the 673 KS, and then it tapers in again into the inside of the bowl. So you can do lots of different finishes. They can be rusticated, they can be sort of a C-rock on some of it, they can be rusticated like this, the golf ball style, which I used to do in the past. And you can mix it, you can mix and match it. You can go up to the line here, you can rusticate, you can go smooth. It really, I'm going to go with how the briar looks, really, depending on how the briar comes out. Hey Captain Clench. No worries, you carry on working, don't worry. Enjoy, I hope there won't be too many silences for you. We'll try and keep things moving. So, I'll show you the pipe. So, I made a start on it this evening. and this is where it's up to. So let me just get that picture back on the screen. So there you've got the shape there. So I don't know if you can see this, but essentially that's where we are. So I've got the rough shape of the tapered in bit is done, as you can see there. It's also tapered in. There's like a narrowish kind of rim, and then it tapers back in the same way as the 673 KS does. There's a few different versions of the 673 in terms of the shape of the shank. Some of them are round, some of them are oval, some of them are diamond. And from what I can see from most of the pictures that I've looked at, is that all of the lines, all of the where it changes from one direction to another, are very soft on the 673. There's no sharp lines. So I'll take it back to the picture. So if you look at that Rhodesian line there, you can barely make out the line. You can obviously see the change in direction. Of course, you can see the shape, but it's almost a curve. There's hardly a line there. Whereas you go to some of the smooth ones, obviously, the line is much, much sharper, much clearer, much more defined. So what I've done so far is, obviously, because I'm doing this on the lathe, this part of it, it's there's a sharp line there. I'm pretty sure that this section here is going to be rusticated, and then we'll see what the bri looks like over the rest of it. So we've got the basic shape outline there. That's all going to come off in sanding, and you can see the curve. It's got a slight bend to it, but it's more than a slight bend. I suppose it's almost a half bend, or more than a quarter bend, I would say. And the drilling has come out very, very nice. So that's pretty much spot on, the drilling. It's as good as you want it to be. And even though it's bent, we've got that pretty bang on. That's pretty much in the middle, which is, it can be a challenge on a bent pipe. So in terms of smokability, this pipe should smoke fantastically. I'm very happy with the mechanical side of things. Right, let's go back to the messages. Hi Brian, thanks for joining once again. And Jeff, Crosby's Corner, how you doing? Long time no speak. Mystic, haven't seen you for a while as well. Thank you for joining. So there we are. So that hopefully is going to be the Matches 860 Memorial pipe. As I mentioned last time, I've now confirmed my order for my stamp, which will be a LCS Briars London made stamp, and there will also be a stamp where I can change the numbers. So this one will have, I'll probably have on it something like M860 for Matches 860. So I think that will be a unique pipe. No other pipe will have it, unless for whatever reason we decide to do more memorial pipes, or if there's a great demand for it. But in order for it to really sort of have value, I think that, you know, to get the best bid, it needs to be pretty unique. So I haven't had the chance yet to do any homework on the other pipe carvers that we spoke about, but we shall see how that goes. I'm very conscious on the amount of time it will take, so I decided to just move ahead straight away with this, seeing that I got the blessing from John's daughter to do that. So there we go on that. Hi Tim, how you doing? Welcome from New Zealand. Hey Tree, how are you? How did your meeting go? Did it happen today? Was it today or tomorrow? Or yesterday? Well, it's yesterday now. Was it Saturday or Friday? I think I saw Phil's video, and I think he was saying it was tomorrow, so Was that Friday, Tim? Tree? Today, rather, Saturday. Well, it's yesterday now because I'm getting all befuddled now. But when was it, Tree? Has it taken place? It was today. All right. It went well, I hope. Did you manage to fill any bargains? This here is full Virginia Flake. I've been smoking it quite a bit the last few days. I actually thought this was from 16. It's actually from 18. So it's 2 years old. It's from January 18. We're now in January 20. So it's 20 years. 2 years old. It was quite moist. I actually put this out about 4 or 5 hours ago, actually. But there's still some give in it, so it should smoke really nicely. Slim pickings. Sorry to hear that. I've got to say, I've mentioned it so many times, I'm really itching to smoke this pipe. I was kind of getting the honey out and starting to... this should be such a fantastic smoking pipe. Shape of it, the balance of it. I'm thinking if I keep it, I can use it as a prototype for more. Hey Matthew. The thing is that I've been starting off so many pipes, it's getting a bit crazy. What do you reckon? You reckon I should give this one a go? Keep it? Smoke it, says Tim. Hey Tim, I will say hello to you. Hey Damon, hey Mike, Gamecock. Enjoying some crinkle flavour. I assume that's crinkle. And grilling, what are you grilling? Some meat, some chicken? Westmoreland Paul, the Scandinavian, Mr. Super Viewer himself. I am actually going to be starting to use bowl coatings soon. It is Kringle with a G. Okay, I thought it was Crinkle. My mistake. So I'm going to start making a bowl coating, which I'm going to use on some pipes, or on pipes that customers specifically wanted. It's supposed to be in the same family as Christmas chair. Well, that's a tall order. I hope it is. What do you reckon? Does it taste like that? Well, I guess this pipe is now officially used. Well, it's been defiled or anointed, depending on how you're looking at it. Well, the bowl coating, what I've had is with a mortar pipe, some of the mortar is actually very, very lightweight, and it means that there's a lot of air inside the mortar, and what happens is, if you're not careful, you can burn it through, and it can be burnt through quite quickly. So just to give it a little bit of extra protection, a bowl coating is in order, I think. Alright, so here we've got some full Virginia Flake, which I've had out for a good number of hours now. Sounds interesting, Mike. Asking a few years, okay. I wouldn't normally break in a pipe with full Virginia Flake, but I suppose there's worse things you could do. Yeah, well, with older state pipes, Paul, it's more a case of them having been sort of used and abused for a long time. But with a new pipe, it shouldn't. I suppose with a new pipe, it's also very susceptible to burn out quite quickly if it's not looked after. Hi, Alex. This is honey, but I will be making a charcoal mixture, which I'll be sort of experimenting with and getting it right. So I'll be sort of developing and creating a charcoal mixture for pipes when people want to have a bowl coating. Thinner walls, yeah, absolutely, those do need a coating. Here we go. Yeah, Mike, I believe that's the ingredients that a lot of people use, a lot of pipe makers use for their bowl coatings, but the format that you're using probably couldn't be done because it needs to really be able to dry out. So it probably would have to be a little bit heavier on the charcoal. But yeah, that's basically the idea. I had a long chat with Phil Rivara about that. JD, okay, yeah, I can get in touch with Jim. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you go back at some of the old videos, I think it was Blakemar. He's got like a poker, a red hot poker, which is I'm not sure if it was him or one of the Italian houses, I forget. But they've got this furnace, and there's a red hot poker sitting in it, and they basically just take the upturned pipe and they just rub it over the poker so it burns the inside of the bowl, and that's it. That's their carbon coating. The honey doesn't impart any flavour, it just creates a little bit of a barrier to the wood flavour that you get on a brand new pipe, which I don't enjoy. It caramelizes as you smoke, and basically gives you a carbon layer immediately, and it helps the carbon build up, speed up, in my experience. It basically accelerates the carbon layer, the caking. Tell you what, I don't know if the drying of the tobacco has made a big difference, but a lot of flavour here. I don't usually get a great deal of flavour from full Virginia Flake. I mean, it's certainly got lovely layers of flavours, but they're usually quite mild. Will it dry though, Mike? That's the question, because if I'm sending a pipe onto a customer, I can't really send it to him with a wet, gloopy sort of yogurt kind of mixture on there. I definitely smoke Garth and Hogarth, but I don't smoke Bruno or Condor. Well, St. Bruno, I do smoke very rarely. I do have an open tin of it, and every so often I'll take a flake, but I don't generally enjoy it. I don't get much flavour out of it. I find it to be very mild, and Condor I think is a Lakeland, so no. Hey Ken, Christopher England, hi, thanks for joining. Would I have an online shop? That's something for the future. I'm still at the evolutionary stage, seeing where I'm going with the pipe making and seeing how well they sell. I've had sort of ups and downs, peaks and troughs, sometimes where pipes sell immediately and sometimes where they take time to sell. And some pipes, which is really interesting, some pipes which I think they're pretty, I mean, to my taste, I don't think they look great and they sell immediately. And some pipes which I think look stunning, obviously I suppose pricing has something to do with it. And I think that they take time to sell, but it's just it's funny how things go, because some things could just sit there and suddenly, a month or two could go by and somebody will say, that pipe, have you still got it? And they'll buy it, snap it up. Hey Andrew, how you doing? Hey Chad, how are you? So in terms of a website, I definitely think that's going to happen at some point. For now, I've got a batch of pipes waiting to go out to an internet site. I'm just waiting on my stamp to come in, which I should get in the next 2-3 weeks. Once that happens, obviously if they're going to go onto a website, they have to look official and professional. So hopefully the stamp will look great, and then they'll go out. I'll see how it goes. And as time goes on, I'll consider investing in a website. We'll see. Yeah, so the full Virginia Flake, as I say, I left it for 4 or 5 hours, and it's definitely tasting fuller than without those full few hours. Decided to fire up my version of the Quebec. Absolutely love this pipe. Very lightweight, very good center of gravity, fantastic clencher. Love it. I send pipes all over the world, Christopher. I think the furthest that I've sent so far is Singapore. Yeah, I can vouch for that, Andrew, because I've in the past generally not enjoyed full Virginia Flake. I've always found it to be quite bland is the wrong word. I've always experienced really nice flavours, but just very, very mild. I've let it dry, as I say, for 4 or 5 hours, and even though this is a brand new pipe, the first smoke, in fact, it's really tasting good. Hey Stonehenge, how you doing? How you feeling, Chad? Are you shifting that cold, that cough? Hey NJ Piper, thanks for joining. So I was mentioning earlier on, for those of you who have come in recently, with the blessing of John, Matches 860's daughter, this is the beginnings of the 860 memorial pipe, which will be going up in a live auction at some point, to raise money to go to a charity of the family's choice, and this is where we're up to. This will be hopefully my version, an LCS version of a 673 KS. Yeah, I hope I managed to stay faithful to the shape as close as possible. I don't want it to be an absolute replica. It's got to be obviously my interpretation of it. And I haven't yet decided whether it's going to be smooth, rusticated, part rusticated. We shall see how the briar turns out. Hey Charlotte, how you doing? So we're smoking some very well dried out full Virginia Flake, and I'm smoking it in this pipe, the first smoke of this pipe. It's a new pipe which I've literally just started about 5 minutes ago, and this full Virginia Flake is really tasting very nice. Well, this is the pipe that I'm modelling it on. As I say, it's not going to be necessarily absolutely identical, but I'll try and get it as close as possible. Depending on the briar, if it's completely rusticated, then I can do it's fairly similar to that. The lines here are very soft. The Rhodesian line here is very soft on the rusticated versions. Here, I'm not going to do that. I've got a round shank, so I'm not going to have a diamond shank. Some of them are diamond, some of them are oval, some of them are round. There's lots of different versions of the 673 KS, so my one is definitely going to be round. Yeah, high C smokes. Yeah, we're aiming to do a 673. I've received the blessing from Katie, from John's daughter, to do a memorial pipe, which will be auctioned, as I say, with proceeds going to a charity of the family's choice. And I've got that in writing from them, so I feel very honoured to be able to do it, and hopefully it will go well. As I said a little bit earlier on, Chad, I haven't been able to because I've had a very busy week. My niece got married. I was working at the wedding, crazy hours, and there's been celebrations for the rest of the week, so I haven't made a start on that yet. But I have the list right in front of me, right there, of all the various different people that we spoke about. So that will happen in the fullness of time. And as I mentioned earlier on, I've finally ordered stamps for my pipes, and one of the stamps will be a numerical stamp where I can change the numbers. So this one will probably have a stamping on it saying M680 for matches 860, along with my stamp, which will be LCS Briars, London made. And I also had an idea in terms of, although it's not something I'm going to do at the moment, in case I ever decide to grade my pipes, I've also ordered 3, so I can grade from 1 to 3. I've also ordered 3 Star of Davids to go in that, to be able to fit in that numerical stamp. I thought it would be a neat sort of insignia to use. So if I decide to do it, I don't know if that will ever happen, but if I decide to do it, to rate my pipes from 1 to 3, some people use stars, some people use lots of different things. So I thought a Star of David would be quite neat. As I say, I don't know if I'll ever do that. We'll see how it goes. I think it would be a really nice idea if some official company like C&D or a Savinelli, one of them, if they did a tribute. You know, it doesn't have to be a long term, could be a short run, but it would be really nice if they did a tribute. It would, you know what that would be, more than anything else? It would be a recognition of the YTPC. Not just recognising John in itself is a worthy ideal, but just recognising the YTPC, I think, would be a huge boost for the YTPC in general. I'm trying to think. I'll have to look that up. Is that live at the moment on iPlayer? Is that currently on the list? Must be, I guess. I'm trying to think if there's anything at all out there which kind of acknowledges the existence of a community, of a pipe smoking community. Besides for the couple of magazines that are still going on. Speaking of which, the Pipe Collector magazine, I haven't seen one for a long time. I don't know if any of you guys, Andrew, are you subscribed nowadays? I haven't seen a new version for a while, a new edition. Philistine, how you doing? Cheers, C Smokes, hope to see you soon. So many tributes out there. The best way to really search for them is to write matches 860 in your search and then click on the upload date, and then you'll see all the most recent videos. And there's got to be by now must be close on 100 tribute videos. It wouldn't surprise me. Is it still on there, North Country? Have you seen it recently? Alex, you're making me blush. Thank you very much. That's a really, really nice comment. Thank you. Cheers, Paul. Look at that pipe. It hangs so well. Smokes awesome. Yeah, I've got a little beard. Salt and pepper. Bit going white. Quite a bit white, actually. Not much of the other colours left. Cheers, Paul. Have a good one. Ciao. The Saranov 16. Thank you for joining. Mostly salt, yes, Chad, thank you. If mine's a salt, Chad, yours is one of those restaurant-sized, you know. I didn't know you had a video, man. I'll have to have a look, Ken. I've been aware of it as long as this live session has been going on, because a few people have mentioned it, the C&D tribute blend. Where is the petition online? Is it on C&D or presumably not? Who's running it? Is it on Briar Report or where is it? Keep the beard, yeah, the beard's not going anywhere. Change.org. Really? Never heard of that. What's change.org? crowdfunding site for petitions. Okay, cool. Never heard of it, but I shall have to look it up. Well, in terms of this full Virginia Flake, it's been a bit of a revelation for me because I've been enjoying it anyway the last few days, but the amount of flavour that I'm getting out of it in this pipe is just unbelievable. As I was saying earlier on, I let it dry for about 4 or 5 hours. What a difference. I'm going to have to try it in one of my other pipes and see what it's like. Because when you smoke a new pipe, it adds a bit of a breadth to the flavour of what you're smoking. Not always a good flavour, but sometimes it does add a little bit of body to it. So I need to try it in another pipe as well. There he is. Hi, Mike. If I was smoking a Scudo in this pipe for the first time, you'd have said it's definitely the tobacco, right? Chris, it's a nice idea, but I think it's a little bit pie in the sky. Unless one of the people in a senior role in one of these kind of establishments actually had an involvement in the YTPC, I really can't see it. I mean, if they were to do a tribute every time somebody passes away, as far as they're concerned, as far as we're concerned, it's not just any old guy, it's matches. But as far as they're concerned, you know, if they were to do a tribute every time a pipe smoker passes on, they just wouldn't get anywhere. But if they investigated it and checked out his channel and saw the amount of followers he had and subscribers, you know, they might realise that they'd be onto something. But to be honest, I think that they'd have to be really confident of selling a huge amount, because they're talking, if they were to do it, although they don't have to change the tobacco, but the labelling they'd have to change, and getting that printed up, which shouldn't really be that expensive. But, you know, people who are in the hi Josh, thank you. People who are in business, at the end of the day, it's got to be viable. It's pounds, shillings and pence, bottom line. And for them to spend the money on redesigning and reprinting a whole run of labels, yeah, I think it would be a struggle. But you never know. You never know. In this day and age, it shouldn't be that expensive to do a print run of labels, honestly. How you doing, Josh? Are you a long-time pipe smoker, a new pipe smoker? You found me because of matches. Well, there you go. You see, he's talking from heaven as well. He's still inspiring people. New pipe smoker. Yeah, I was thinking that, Mike, to add a sticker, but I don't know if that would have the same gravitas. Adding a sticker to me would seem like a bit of a slap in the face. Adding a sticker would just be, for me, it would be them jumping on the bandwagon, not spending any thought or investment or giving it any importance. You know, for me, if they're going to do it, they'd have to do it a proper run. You know, it would seem fake to me if it was just a sticker on top of original labels, and that would be, I think, them just getting income off the back of somebody passing away. Yeah, they probably did without knowing it. That's the thing, Damon. That is the thing. Look, it depends how many people signed the petition, let's be honest. I don't know what number they're up to. Does anybody know what number the petition is up to? No, a sticker, a label onto the jar, onto the tin. 1100? Nah, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. I thought it was like 10,000-20,000. They're not going to do anything for 1100 petition. You know, if it got up to 10,000, maybe they'd think about it, or even 5,000. You know, 5,000 would be a limited run. But in order to sell 5,000, they'd have to, well, I suppose, with a lot of people, they'd buy multiple tins, but they'd probably sell them. Yes, hi Chris. Very sad. Shocking news, really. Uh-oh. Northern, you're a glutton for punishment. I think your video has gone down very, very badly. Like I actually can't think of any apt way of describing it. $2,000 run of thing, yeah, okay. Hey, Mr. Eximba, how you doing? No worries, Mike, all the best. Well, you're not very popular here today, Northern. You're causing my subscribers to go. A lot of people are very upset with you, Northern Bohemian, despite your well-known acerbic humour. A step too far, I think. A big step too far. Upset a lot of people. I think the right thing to do is to take that video down. Not that anybody can tell you what to do, it's your channel. But I think everybody would be a lot happier if you took that down. As an acerbic sense of humour gone too far, methinks, on this occasion. Much too far. You know, really stabbing people whilst they're in acute pain. A lot of people in pain over it. What's that, Josh? Which tobacco are you talking about? Carter Hall. I'm trying to remember if I've ever tried it. I'm trying to remember if anybody ever sent me some to try. Yeah, I mean, they not only know about the YTPC, they've actively requested people to share their tributes and their stories about matches, so... I think the key thing here is that there is, you know, we all know there's an existence of dark humour. There's plenty of people online who employ dark humour as their profession. So I mentioned some of the names last time, like Andrew, whatever his name is, Jeselnik, Louis C.K., these kind of people who employ dark humour. But I think the issue here is that it's not for the public. This video is aimed at the YTPC, and the YTPC is you know, at the end of the day, Matches was a huge inspiration on the YTPC. Yes, he was a normal human being and a family member, and no nothing special in terms of his humanity other than being a fantastic guy, a nice guy, and who gave a lot of his time to the YTPC. And you're looking at his subscriber number, you can see how popular he was and why he was so popular. And just watch the tributes, listen to my tribute if you want to, and you get to see the feeling and the connection and the attachment that people had to matches, despite the fact that they've never met the guy in person, for the vast majority of us. So therefore it's personal pain to an extent. So that's why it's inappropriate, because the video is only going to be seen by those people affected by it. It's not like it's humor for the public, where a certain percentage will enjoy the dark humor and a certain percentage won't. It's like, okay, we're not his family, understood, we're not his family, and some people might say, for people from the outside world would not understand the affection that matches would have held for us. But your video is only going to be seen by the YTPC. Put it this way, people who might have any interest, before they actually watch it. I don't think they would after they watch it. I've enjoyed your videos in the past and maybe in the future, but this one certainly. What's this half-done pipe, Simon? Is that... Oh, hi, Josh. Yeah. This is the tribute pipe. This is where I'm up to. So it's the beginnings of a 673. And it's so far doing well. Phil, it wasn't awful timing, it was calculated timing. That's his sense of humour. But it just is completely inappropriate on a personal level. We all take it personally. That's why it's hurtful. That's why we're all offended. And that was the calculated risk, and that's that's the whole point of the video. It wouldn't work otherwise. But nevertheless, despite the infamy that it's getting him, which he's enjoying, and I understand why he's done it, it's still a step too far. It's sick. That's the bottom line. It's just far too far. It's like going to a family member's to a funeral, and going to the people in the front row in the front pews and saying, "I'm glad he's dead." That's what it's like for us. That's the bottom line. No, I'm not sure you understood my point, Phil. The timing is not awful. The content is awful. The fact that he decided to do it is awful. The timing is spot on. It's just disgusting. Put it this way, it's disgusting for people that are affected by it. It's disgusting on any level, but you might have some people who might find it funny. But it's there we go. So we shall just set that aside, and as somebody said before, not give it any more attention. So we'll carry on talking about other things. So what are you guys smoking tonight? Anything of interest? Hello, Steph and Skip. Who do we have tonight? Steph or Skip? Both. How you doing, both? So we can actually say hello, and actually it makes sense. Well, Josh, I think we can all sympathise. I think that's fairly standard procedure for most households. I'm just very fortunate that I've got my own office, which I have, to some extent, sealed hermetically, and with some decent extraction. Oh, how's that going, Andrew? How's that BB12 going? Hey Luke, thanks for joining. What are my go-to cigars these days? Haven't really changed. My preferred go-to cigar remains the Connoisseur number one. I'm smoking less cigars than I used to, but I'm still enjoying them thoroughly. The last cigar I had was a... maybe I'll smoke one soon. Maybe still do one tonight, depending if the conversation continues. The last one I had was a Saint Louis Rey To Cigars, which was a 2016, the end of 2016 Spanish regional edition. Hey Mel, how you doing? You posted your review. Okay, I look forward to seeing that. You think I won't like it? Ah, I knew it. It's going to be Rabbit Hutch, isn't it? But Luke, to go back to your question, I've been enjoying also the Siri V Milanios. I do like those cigars as well. And I think I recently had an Undercrown Maduro, which was also very nice because they've been sitting in my Tapador for a good 2 years or so. So really smoothed out, nice and chocolatey. Very, very much enjoyed it. The problem is that when you buy them again, you got to wait again for a couple of years to really get the best out of them. It's the same with all, and that's why there are some companies that sell aged cigars. We've talked about this in the past. Historically, in the UK anyway, all cigars that you got were aged. Cigar business didn't turn around as quickly as it does now. And 10, 15, 20 years ago, if you went into J.J. Fox's, if you bought some cigars off the shelf, they will have already been in storage for about 10 years. And in other words, they only brought them out when they were right to smoke. Nowadays, it's just so much quicker. You'll get a cigar which is barely a year old, unless you go to their age section and you'll pay a premium for it. That's how it is nowadays. Right, let me catch up with some messages. Paperback Piper, how you doing? Thanks very much for joining. A Sassini. Oh, you're smoking Sassini. Is that Balkan Sassini in a Church Warden? Is that what you're saying? Tree mixture in a rather sexy Stanwell Bulldog. You posted your review. Star of the East, a nice tobacco. A lot of people compare that to Penzance. They are quite similar, but not the same. I've got to say that this bowl of full Virginia Flake is smoking very well. It's smoking very well despite the fact that it's a brand new pipe. And really the fact that I've dried it out for a few hours seems to have made a lot of difference. Just ordered some OGS and Dark Twist, both superb tobaccos. Well done. That's a good choice, Matthew. I'm big on the OGS at the moment, really big. Blender's Gold, never heard of that. Let us know how it is, Josh. Treebeard for the night, and with that, night all, Simon, always a pleasure. Thank you, Christopher, all the best. Liga Privada. Yeah, the Undercrowns, Luke, I'm a little behind, just catching up on the messages. The Undercrown, generally speaking, the concept of it was a poor man's Liga Privada, but they're really good. I haven't had a Liga Privada for probably about 3 years now, because the Undercrowns are just that good, and you're going to pay a premium for the Liga Privada. And the Liga Privada that I did have, it was okay. I wasn't blown away by it. Guy S. Shavuatov, we all wish for health and living. Yes, we do. No doubt about that. Shavuatov to you. I hope you had a nice Shabbos. What's your favourite everyday pipe tobacco? At the moment, Saranov, it's Auric Golden Sliced, OGS. Really, really enjoying it. But I've got to tell you that this full Virginia Flake is really tasting very, very good. It's like a more refined version, but it's excellent. Enjoying it thoroughly. That would be so nice. Andrew, I'm sorry I'm behind on the messages. I don't know what that refers to. Paperback Piper, how you doing? NJ Piper Spark plug fits nicely into GLP's catalogue of fine bold English, but nothing game changing. Okay. 12 was actually pleasant-ish. Okay, yeah, you and Mel, you and Andrew seem to have a similar palates. You've got some dodgy relationship with some rabbits, I think. Evening WV, how you doing? Thanks for your email. Slim Pickings, SNS, All at Golden Slice. Yes, it is All at Golden Slice, Phil. Full Virginia Flake, Black Double X, Bothy Flake, Navy Flake, and Lakeland Dark. Ooh. Black Double X. Okay, I hope you have a good solid meal before you smoke that. That's some spunky stuff. North Country Fish are smoking a Toscana Antico. Quite nice, but a bugger to keep lit. You might want to, in future, leave them out for a couple of hours before you smoke them. And what you might also do, if it's one of those which gets fatter in the middle, is cut it in half and smoke half at a time. Cut it in half and then light the fatter end on each half. Chris W. Rimboche. I've never tried that. People talk about it. I've never tried it. Punto Oro. I guess that's a Savinelli. Nice. They're supposed to be really good. I don't know why they're so expensive, but I guess it's, the Oro means that it's gold, so presumably it's a higher standard briar, I guess. Just watch the Northern Bohemian vid. I don't even think he's trying to use Darkhume. It's just pure Schadenfreude from a bitter posterior. Andrew Signorado. Simon, I popped a tin of 2009 OGS and really wanted to love it. Sadly, I'm just not getting much from it. I guess I'm just a rabbit hatch guy. Well, you know my address, Andrew. Send it over here, buddy. Damon Cleo, how does OGS compare to Full Virginia Flake? Okay, so let me just quickly run through the rest of the messages and we'll come back to that. Don't tell him that, Chris. I want him to send it to me. Brandon, the Palo Duro Piper. Good evening, Brandon. Thank you for joining. Philistine, Golden Slice is a really great tobacco. I agree. I concur fully. Matthew Rowe, OGS is going to be a first for me. Looking forward to it as I'm getting a bit bored of the aromatic tobaccos I have. Matthew, that's a big sea change. It's a completely different concept. But OGS is a good way to go. If you want some advice, you didn't ask for it, but if you want some advice and you want to like OGS, that in itself is a bit of a stupid statement to say if you want to like something, you like what you like. You don't be forced into liking something. But if you want to have a sort of a stepping stone towards OGS, try Erinmore Flake. I was a big fan of that. I still am. I just don't smoke it as much, but as I did. But I still smoke it fairly regularly. But if you go to Erinmore Flake, that's a little bit more aromatic, but it's not a complete aromatic. Smoke that for a bit and then go to OGS. If you still find that Erinmore is too aromatic for you, go to OGS and I think you'll be in heaven. The Earth has music. How you doing? Welcome. Thanks for joining. Best Brown. Yeah, I've tried that a few times. I probably should crack another tin, although I've got a whole jar of it, but that particular thing just doesn't taste that nice. And people go nuts over Best Brown, and I just haven't got it. I just haven't got the flavours. I haven't really got my head around it, so maybe I'll revisit it. But I just always feel loath to open a second tin when I've got one open. But you do get that sometimes when different batches taste differently. I used to get that quite a lot in 40th anniversary. From one tin to the next, really, really different levels of richness. This stuff is known for its richness. The Christmas cheers are known for the richness, for that vinegary, clovey, spicy, sweet richness. But I've had tins which were fantastic. The first time I tasted this stuff, the first tin I opened was delicious. The second tin was meh. It was okay, same DNA, but it didn't have the same strength, didn't have the same fullness, which was a shame. Damon Clear just answered my question. What was your question? How does OGS compare to Full Virginia? Okay, I got you. Do I have a Shape 55? I've made a couple of Shape 55s. You'd have to go through my channel, I'll try and do that in a minute. Maybe somebody else will be able to do that if they don't mind. I sold that one probably about 3 months ago. I've made 2 of them. One of them was closer to a 55 than the other. The first one that I made wasn't as close, but it was a lovely pipe. It was my interpretation. My first version, I think that went to Wildcat. What? No, was it Wildcat? No, I think it went to... Who's the guy that is on Briar Report with the glasses? On BRTV, rather. I forget his name. I mean, I could just go on there and see. But anyway, he had that one. And then the second one went to one of my prolific pipe buyers. He's probably had about 8 of my pipes already. He's out in Singapore. And he got the other Shape 55. And that one was much closer to a Shape 55. Tobaccos for a new pipe smoker. It's a tough one. That really is a tough one. Matthew, who is it? Was it Matthew that asked the question? Where am I up to? Josh asked the question. Tobaccos for a new pipe smoker. I would say Erin Moore, honestly, because Erin Moore is really banging between lots of different genres. It gives you some aromatics, it gives you Virginias. That's why I always advise people if they ask. But that's based on my own personal journey from when I started, so I think it's worth a try anyway. Hey Paul. Hi Scott Free, thanks for joining. Sat in the garden semi-naked, can't believe how much it's for January, North Country Fisher. '70th birthday for your mum, Paul. Lovely. Savinelli Quercia 512 JU pipe. Big ball. Okay. Deer tongue and birdie. Smells manly. Ugh. What she means is a sweaty man. Put simply, 2 words. Sweaty man. Funk. Paul Piper, Briar Blues, Steph, Paul, rather than Josh. 4-eyed, that's the one. Thank you. 4-eyed Piper. You enjoyed them both, Mel. Good stuff. Well, Paul, I don't have a website as yet, as you know, but the pipes that I make go on YouTube, and if you just go through the last few weeks, you'll see the pipes that I've got available. I'd be more than happy to help one wing its way along to you. The Erin Moore Flake, generally speaking, what I usually do is when I rub out a flake, I'll show you. I'll do another flake of full Virginia because I know I'll smoke it in the near future. So I kind of do somewhere in between. So there's the full Virginia flake. It's got some nice crystals on it. You can see them glinting in the light there. So generally speaking, I'll fold it in half and again, and then I'll squash it together and then break it in half like that, and then just do that, and that's it. So the pieces are quite chunky, which is how I like it, but they are broken up enough so that they don't bind in the bowl and block the air passage, and that's how I do it. I do like it. I do like it chunky. It slows down the burn, so it doesn't heat up too quickly. It allows enough air passage so that there's enough oxygenation, so it does burn, but not too fast. But you get to sort of develop your own way of doing things, so that so what works for you. Lane 1Q, Sutliff 1M. Those are classics if you're liking aromatics, for sure. If you're going to go for an aromatic, bat with a hat, but I wouldn't recommend that for a new smoker. It's going to be really tasty and sweet, and if you've got a sweet tooth, it's great, but it's soaking wet. It's wetter than a wet thing, and that the guy's going to struggle. He's going to get bitten. It's going to go out. He's going to get put off. I really would not recommend bat with a hat, because you can leave that out to dry in a sauna. Well, not a sauna, because that's quite steamy, but you know what I mean. It just won't dry. That stuff just will not dry. Lane 1Q, Captain Black, pretty similar in terms of genre. Paul, I'm assuming that you know my email address, or if you're on Instagram, hook me up and I'll send you pictures of what I've got. Boswell Northwoods as a first English blend, it depends on the person, because it can be quite full. I would say the first half of the bowl, yes. Once you get to the second half of the bowl, I wouldn't recommend it for a new smoker personally. Maybe go for the light English that they do, that Boswells do, the mild English. Good night, Tim. Thanks very much. Chunky but funky, says Matthew. I have smoked a pipe for about 4.25 years. Not that long in the grand scheme of things. Hi Lewis, you rub them out to ribbon. That's just not me. Everybody rubs, has their preferred sort of presentation of the tobacco, and mine is Chunky Monkey. It sounds, Josh, like that you've got all the OT, the over-the-counter blends, and if you like them, stick with them. That's great, because it means you're always going to be able to get that kind of tobacco. Old Dark Fired Ready Rub, no, not for starters. I would agree with you on that, Guy. Lane HGL is a nice crosser. Yeah, I hear that. I haven't smoked it, but I hear that's very good. I think Izzy, the happy-go-lucky piper, I think he smokes that a fair bit. Yeah, Chris, I can imagine that. Joshua in the woods. Woo! That's a long time. Yeah, very tough news for everybody this week, Joshua. And I'm glad to see you on here. It's been a long time. I hope your profession is going well. That seems to me the last subject you spoke about when you made a video before you ducked out. Good to see you. Smoking Gentleman Corner and see what your girl thinks. Indeed, Steph. Juan Lopez. The Juan Lopez that I smoke generally is the number 2. I still have probably a half a box of them. I'm going to let them sit for quite a bit longer, because they're quite strong. I find them quite strong. Put it this way, when you first start smoking, it's really nice and tasty. On sort of quite complex and tasty. Like most Cuban cigars, when you start them off, they really taste nice and buttery and nutty and creamy. But once you get into them, once you get into where they are in terms of, say, the second third, halfway through the second third, and you start to get what their DNA really is, in terms of the fullness and strength, the number 2 is quite strong. Josh is going to order some Haunted Bookshop and Old Joe Krantz just because it feels right. I fully understand you on that, but get ready to be kicked in the butt. Earth and music. Earth has music. It's trial and error, I'm afraid. Put it this way: when you dry out, as I would say as a rule of thumb, but there's no such thing as a real rule of thumb because we all have different experiences. But as at least a place to start, when you dry your tobacco out, when you clump it together and you press it together like that into a clump, and it stays there and doesn't spring back. So this now is not springing back very well. That means it's too moist. It's clumping together. If, on the other hand, you take some OGS, you clump that together, and you see that springing back straight away. And I haven't even dried this. This is straight out of the jar. When it springs back a reasonable amount, that's pretty good as a baseline. Now you might decide you might like it wetter, you might like it drier, and that you have to really do by trial and error. And also, if it's far too dry, then what will happen is it'll become sawdust. If you start to manipulate it, it'll start to crumble because it's so dry. That means it's too dry. So you want to have some moisture in it, but not an awful lot. How much of that is really trial and error? You have to really just, as they say, suck it and see. No, don't put any numbers up. Here's my address. There you go. OGS is all it golden sliced, Paul. Keep watching videos, you'll figure it out. Absolutely. Spot on there, NJ Piper. Well, a video like mine, Sam, would be pointless because, as you can see, not much goes on in the picture. It's all about the sound on my videos. Where are we? Popped a tin of HB Haunted Bookshop last night for the first time. Loved it. Didn't really have a nick it for me, and I spoke 2 bowls. Wow. But I've only recently started to appreciate Birdie. I think the Preak makes it. Okay, I do have some Haunted Bookshop. Maybe I'll give that a try as well. I suppose I should do that on a sort of as a toast. I'll have to do that after I've eaten though. They're smoking barley-based blends. That sounds interesting. I know you mean burley. Anyone tried the Wallace Flake by Rattrays? I have not. No problem, Paul. Burley will find you. It still hasn't happened for me, Pipes. I have tried, but so far the only burley that I can fairly enjoy is the old London burley blend from McBaron. And the one I've got is from the 1970s, and that's probably why I'm enjoying it, because it's smoothed out as BB19, whatever it's called. That Dunhill blend used to be called Baby's Bottom. Steph, there you go. If he's just been clearing up the patio, then presumably you're going to get your musky aroma. He must have heard us talking. OGS like Erin Moore in some ways, but no. Erin Moore is more aromatic, it's more fruity flavoured. OGS has got a certain citrusy, orangey kind of flavour to it, but it's quite subtle. But it's great if once you get to know the blend. Erin Moore is much more in your face, but still not as aromatic as a classic aromatic. That's a good tip, Ken. A spoonful of sugar. That sounds like a Disney film, doesn't it? A spoonful of sugar or honey will arrest a nick hit before it gets bad. Okay, good to know. What is my Instagram link? It is as follows. No, it's not. There you go. Looking to get some new tobaccos. Is there much difference between the Erin Moore Flake and Erin Moore mixture? There is a difference, for sure. I first started with Erin Moore with a mixture. I think the mixture might have more burley in it. I'm not entirely sure. I should really look it up. But I started off smoking the mixture and really not enjoying the Flake. And then I went on to the Flake and I hardly ever touched the mixture. In fact, I've got some unopened tins which I'd be happy to trade of the mixture. North Country Fisher, which is the better Jose Piedra cigar? I mean, they should all have a similar flavour. It's just a question of what size you like, what vitola you like. Herferville is jumping in. Do I sell tobacco? On occasion. Every so often. I haven't done one for a long time now. I have every so occasionally done a tobacco sale. I do still have a lot of aged tobacco, which at some point I'll probably put on a sale at some point. I would really like to just have a website and try to just do it that way, but I can't see that happening in the near future. Cheers, Philistine. Night night. No worries, Paul. Look forward to get your email. Yeah, Oompals or really sort of full bent pipes, they do tend to gurgle more, but that's probably because of the drilling. Full bent pipes are notoriously difficult to drill well. Even sort of semi-bent pipes are quite difficult, I find. So when I drill any kind of bent pipe and it drills well, I'm very relieved, that I can tell you. This pipe here as well, as I was drilling it I was nervous, but it's come out perfect, it really has. This is drilled spot on. Should be a very good smoker, this pipe. I want to try and do it justice so the person who does get it eventually will at least enjoy smoking it. Good night, Phil, thanks very much. This briar is Italian briar. It's Mimo briar, and you can get it pretty much. There's no shortage of it. If you're in the States, Lewis, you can get it from Vermont Freehand. You can get it from Raw Crafted. There's no shortage. No secret. It's fairly straightforward to get it. Hey, Pipe John. Yeah, it's a really nice selection, Mike, of those cigars. For me, the pick of the bunch, let me just look at your picture again. Okay, so you've got a Connoisseur A. You've got a Bolivar, looks like a half Corona. Is it a half Corona or a Royal Corona? And then you've got, by the looks of it, a Ramon Iones specially selected. Am I right? There's the picture. The pipe in front of me with the blue band, this one here on the right. The dust extractor is going fantastically well. Okay, if this is the one, I'll send you pictures of it, and we can talk about it. This one is drilled perfectly, nice grain, nice band, and it will be a good smoker. It's a pot, nice thick walls, should be a good smoker. The dust extractor, yeah, it's really going very, very well. At the moment I've only got it hooked up to my sanding wheel. I haven't got it hooked up to the lathes yet. I've got to really think about how to do that, the best way. But for the sanding wheel, it works very, very well. I mean, really and truly, I kind of get tempted not to wear a mask when I'm doing it because it works so well. But if you want to start carving your own pipe, yes, I would agree. You want to get one of those pre-drilled kits, the ones with the stems on already. That's the way to go. That's how I started, and that's how most people start. Payment is through PayPal, Paul. Right, that bowl is done. So it's pipe or cigar. The LCS is breaking in great. Used your honey trick first time. Excellent smoke. It comes in for most mornings on my walk with Finn. Nice to hear that. Very happy to hear that, Andrew. I'll be honest with you. When I see the pictures of it, I'm not happy with that little smooth area just before the stem. And obviously, if you remember when we met, I wanted to finish it on the day. But really and truly, if I had the choice, if I had the chance, I would. I'd want to at least stain it black. It kind of just doesn't. I don't know. It grates on my symmetrical eye. But some people may like that smooth bit. I don't know. You may like it. If you guys would have smell-o-vision. Oh. You like the contrast, that's great, I'm happy. So this is the connoisseur, number one. this box is from September 18, so it's only got about a year and a half on it. Not ideal. And quite a few of these are stiff as well, which is a shame. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if this one was a little tight, but we'll find out. Yep. That's the problem with Cuban cigars so far. Quite a high percentage of this box have been quite tight. I mean, the way to really do it is to... last week, I think, we used the cigar saving tool, but I don't want to do that now. I want to have a trouble-free smoke. That one should be okay. Might be okay. Might be okay. Alright, this one's the best one so far out of that handful. Let's try it. Well, I put this whole box into the humidor. Because it's cedar, it's fine. Yes, Mike, I know. There we go. This one smokes perfect. Got a very open draw. Maybe even too open. Never satisfied, am I? There's so many of these with the caps taken off already, which they're just too tight, and I put them back in the box. Yeah, I mean, Monte Cristo, they're all good makes. You know, it's not the fact that Monte Cristo is any better than any of the other brands. It's pot luck, I'm afraid to say. Unfortunately, it's pot luck. They're all the only ones where you've got a fair chance of having is the ones which are rolled in Laguito, which, you know, the higher end brands like Cohiba, Trinidad, those kind of brands generally. You'll get good draws on those because they're more careful with those, but otherwise it's pretty much pot luck. What am I looking for? A soft flame. If I had a fireplace, then we could do some kindling, but my house is... the fireplaces, before I bought this house, the fireplaces were converted into... One of them was converted into housing a boiler, and the other one's got a fish tank in it, and that I actually had done. Scottish Gaucho, yeah, I hear that. You know, the less complicated we make things, the more chance we have of enjoying them, I guess. Just you've seen my email address earlier on. Just get in touch with me by email, and we'll sort you out. No problem. I don't sell cigars, Paul. I have in the past when I've had a surplus, but at the moment I'm not selling any cigars. No. I mean, some of my cigars will hopefully be ending up on a website soon here in the UK, but they will be available all around the world. But that will happen probably in 2 or 3 weeks. I've got a pipe stamp on order, as I mentioned earlier on. So once I can have my pipes looking a little bit more professional by having a proper stamp on them, they'll be available online. Hey Daniel, how are you? How's your mum doing? I do use a torch, but generally speaking, when I light the cigar, especially a Cuban cigar, I tend to use a soft flame, because the torch would just sort of heat up the end of the cigar too quickly. But sometimes if I'm in a rush or if I'm outdoors, only a torch will do. So I have torch lighters, but starting off a Cuban cigar at home at my desk like this would usually be with a soft flame. Sorry to hear that, Daniel, but I think you mentioned it before that it was expected. How's your dad coping? Hey Glenn, how you doing? I don't know that that's true. I'm sure there's other channels where pipes and cigars are smoked. What's that, Andrew? Which challenge is that? To smoke cigars? Definitely. Would love to see you smoking cigars, Andrew. Go for it, man. I'd really be interested in hearing your take on a cigar, especially a Cuban. To be honest, Americans, they're so used to the American style cigars, the New World cigars. A lot of people take who's that guy again who does those videos, should I smoke this? He has smoked some Cubans, he doesn't smoke them that often. And if you go to Zeal Cigars, used to be called whatever they were called, I don't remember, both of those guys, they're not big Cuban fans because they're so used to the rich, strong, peppery New World cigars. When you go to a Cuban, they just seem to be very mild to American palates because of that. So I'm really curious to hear your take on it, Andrew. Because you see, Cuban cigars are really only for refined palates, you know. Yeah, the Connie No. 1 is a great cigar. I really enjoy them. Like I said, if you want to get a Connie No. 1, sort of with a little bit more of a boost, the Royal Robusto, also a great cigar. It's got a slightly more ruddy complexion to the wrapper, and it just gives it a little more of a floral essence to it. I've got some of those on the way. They still haven't arrived, actually. They should have been here by now. Hopefully they'll be arriving in the next day or two. Well, Daniel, when this XO came out, it was all the rage. The whole point of this is you can see the gearing here in these grooves, and the idea is that because of this gearing, when you open it and close it, both blades move simultaneously, whereas most other cigar cutters, I'm not sure where my pear drop shaped one is from Zycar, the butterfly one, whatever they call it, but it's usually one blade moves more than the other. And so the concept of this one is that when you bring the blades down onto your cigar, you're not squashing the cigar because both are working at the same time. And the concept does work, but there's a few issues. There's a few issues with this, and which is why, for me, the butterfly shaped one is my number one cutter. My straight cut is my preferred cut, but the reason why this one I find problematic, first of all, you can see the powder coating has come off, and that, you know, I wasn't abusing it or anything like that. There's some kind of blue coating underneath. You know, they come with lifetime guarantees. I could send it back. I'm sure they'd send me a new one. But what I find with this one is that because the aperture here is so deep, it's hard to get a feel for exactly where you're cutting. So if you put this in, you can see it, but it's just not as intuitive. So you've got to really check where you're cutting because it's so deep. So you can't really, the blade's not right there. And also I find that the blades have dulled on this a little bit. When it came out, when it was new, it was unbelievably sharp. But for me, I would take the butterfly shape one any day of the week. Perfect Cutter? Is that the name of the cutter? Perfect Cutter? Hey Madhound, how you doing? Yeah, the V cutter is nice. I went through all of the different types. I started off with a straight cutter, and as I started to get into cigar smoking, the next one on was, excuse my hands, I've got pipe staining all over me. And the next one I went was a punch, which I enjoyed for a while. And then I went for the V-cut. The Calibri V-cut is just a phenomenal V-cut. Very, very sharp, a really good deep cut. But again, it's a great cutter. It really is. But when I went back to the straight cutter, I just prefer it because you got the best chance of a smooth draw with a straight cut. As I've said in the past, if you imagine you do a punch, so you've got a small hole over there, so when the smoke travels through it, so it's coming through here, but imagine the smoke coming from there, going all the way through the pipe, the whole thickness of the cigar, and then when it comes to that small hole here, it bottlenecks, and it all comes down to that small hole. So what you're going to end up is lots of tar gathering over here, and eventually that's your cigar may get bitter because of all the tar that's sitting there. So you can blow through it, you can purge, but it does affect the flavour. The V-cut gives you much more surface of a cut area, or pretty much the same as a straight cut, but because it's also concentrated in the middle, you have that same effect. So for me, a straight cut has always been the best. But it's horses for courses. Everybody does what they like. Pocket knife. The first ever cigars that I smoked, I used to do with a match. I used to just pierce the end with a matchstick, nothing else. A tiny little hole. I knew nothing about cigars, obviously, but that's what I did in those days, and it worked. Alaskan bear cutters. Yeah, I'm not in the market for a cutter, to be honest. I'm very happy with what I've got. So, I mean, there are some out there which are better, no doubt, but the butterfly shaped one for me is more than adequate, and I'm happy with it. Hey, Guy. Yeah, nice sentiments there. Oh, Daniel, behave. You can get Cubans legitimately in the US? Enjoy your bowl, NJ. Jeffrey Feinberger's in the house. How you doing? Ooh, Jeffrey. Heidi ho, indeed. You also have a hatchet. Yeah, for those big 56 ring gauge. Oh no, you don't want to cut the top with a bread knife. Use the force. $20 a stick. I'm very well, thank you, Jeffrey. Thanks for asking. The pipe I made today is going to be the Matches 860 tribute pipe, which I've said a few times already, but in case anybody didn't hear it, this is a pipe which I've got the blessing of Matches' daughter to make as a memorial pipe. And when it's finished, please God, if it works out, if not, I'll have to make another one. But hopefully it will work out. This is a 673 KS tribute. It may not be exactly the same, but hopefully it'll be similar. And this will be auctioned in a live auction. And the proceeds will go to a charity of the family's choice. I'm sure it did unwrap on you, Paul, if you cut it with a bread knife. And presumably you cut the cap off. Once you cut the cap off, then there's very little chance of smoking that without the wrapper coming off. Cafe Creams, I've smoked those in the past. They're nice cigars, actually. This one is a little bit too open, so it's kind of heating up a bit, getting a little bit acidic, but hopefully it won't last. We'll see how we go. Thank you, Guy. My opinion on bowl coatings. My personal preference is not to have a coating. So the pipes that I make generally so far have all had no coating on them. But I will be looking into putting together a coating because some pipes need it. So a pipe which has got particularly thin walls, or I had experience now recently with a mortar pipe which has had some issues with burning through because the density in the mortar was very, very low, so it needed some kind of buffer, some kind of thing to stop it from overheating. So in certain scenarios I probably will be using a coating of some kind, but for the most part most of my bowls are naked. My favorite cigar wrapper would be a Cuban cigar wrapper, which are mostly what you would, I suppose, call similar to Connecticut. All Cuban cigars are puros. So when you have a cigar from the New World, so if it's Honduran, Nicaraguan, whatever, they often will have, unless they're a puro, which means that wrapper, binder and filler are all from the same country, as in pure, or Honduran, yeah. But if you get any of those New World cigars, the vast majority of them have got tobacco in them from all over the world. They can often have 10 different blends of tobacco in there. And that's why there's so many different blends, because it's almost the connotations that you can have, the different sort of blends, it's almost limitless, because you can mix and match so much. Whereas Cuban, it's really just a blend of tobaccos from different fields within Cuba, within the very sort of, there's Rio del, I forget the names now, Pinar del Rio, and there's Huelte Abajo, I don't know how they pronounce it. But anyway, there's a few of the famous fields, but generally speaking, in Cuba, it's all from Cuba. It's the same soil, it's the same atmosphere, the same weather, the same climate, all of that. So they're all similar but different. But the non-Cuban ones, they're literally all over. There's so many different blends. Thank you, Ken, for being a part of it. North Country, I would suggest that you look not at Cuban cigars. If you want to get coffee and cocoa, you really got to start experimenting with non-Cuban cigars, to be honest. The Undercrowns would be a good place to start. The Undercrown shade, I would advise you to start with. And I believe you can get them from some of the UK tobacconists. I'm not sure. I think you can. Well, there you go. Lewis says that Henry Winterman cigars give him coffee notes. So try those. Daniel, I used to be able to tell the difference. I used to think I could tell the difference between a Dominican and Nicaraguan, not the others. But nowadays, I probably couldn't tell the difference. Hey Spider 7006. If you find that you like Latakia, should you stick with that main leaf or try everything? I'm lost in the sea of blends. Well, look, it depends on what you want from smoking a pipe. If you just want to smoke a pipe and get the nicotine from it, then if you find a blend that you like, just smoke that. If you want variety, then just experiment. You won't know until you try. If you like Latakia Spider, then you're probably going to enjoy things which have got quite a smoky, not Latakia smoky, but like Old Dark Fired and these kind of tobaccos. You'll probably enjoy them. Something with Kentucky in it, you'll probably enjoy. So it's probably worth trying those. Well, I don't know what's going to happen in North Country with once the whole Brexit thing kicks in. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of importing stuff. I mean, things shouldn't kick in until December time, and then depends what kind of deal is struck with Europe. But at the moment, you can order from certain sites. Yeah. quite nice. Well, yeah, so it sounds like you do like Latakia. And if you just want to try other blends, there's other Latakia blends, there's no shortage. Alright people, unless anybody's got any particular questions, we are 2 a.m. here in the UK. Anybody want to ask anything or raise any topic in particular? Daniel, what made a codger blend so attractive to older pipe smokers in the early days compared to new blends now? They're called codger blends because they became codger blends. They weren't codger blends to start with. Codger blends is really, it's just the standard over-the-counter blends. They didn't have internet. They didn't have the ability to choose from thousands of different blends. And generally speaking, they'd go to their local tobacconist. They'd pick out a pipe or two, and they'd pick out a tobacco if they liked it, and they would stick with it. It's like somebody smoking cigarettes. You don't see people generally doing like what we do and trying out lots of different tobaccos. If somebody smokes cigarettes, and let's say they like Marlboro, they'll just smoke Marlboro. You don't see people with a whole cellar full of 20 different types of cigarettes. They'll smoke a cigarette. It's because they want the nicotine. That's it. In days of old, when people smoked a pipe, it wasn't about collecting pipes, or at least very rarely. It wasn't about collecting pipes. It was about having 2 or 3 pipes maximum for a lot of people, and they just smoked what they liked, and that's it. They had one blend often, and that was it. It wasn't the hobby as it is now for us. It's a completely different ballgame, really. Thanks, Joshua. Thanks for joining. Will that affect the pipe tobacco and pipes? It could do, Paul. Going out of Europe, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. But I mean, there's no shortage here in the UK. The UK suppliers, pipe makers, blenders. You know, you've got Samuel Gowith here, and you've got Jermaine's, Garth Hogarth. McBaron is Europe, but I don't know. Bottom line is I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Possibly taxes will go higher, who knows. Trade with the US should improve depending on how we deal with Huawei. He's a bit unpredictable, your top man. I like him, but he's a bit unpredictable. No worries, Jeff. Okie dokies. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks, Joshua. Thanks, GP. Thanks, Pipes, etc. Daniel, Chad, Andrew, Scott Freak, Jiro, Paul, Spider, Brandon, Damon, Lewis, North Country Fisher, Guy, GP, Josh, Pipe Grump, and everybody else. Tim, if you're still there. Mike, if you're still there. Thanks for joining. Mike Gamecock Piper and Mike at Briar Blues. Mad Hound. All of you, thank you very, very much for joining. I did notice that numbers went up tonight, and I couldn't help thinking, I didn't really say it before, but I did. My heart did skip a beat when the thought went through my mind, which was, I couldn't help thinking that maybe I got a higher number count because of the absence of matches on Friday night, and that really saddened me, that thought. And I would much rather have a lower number and still have matches around. So there you go. Good night, everybody, and I will catch you on the very next one. No worries, Paul. Just get in touch, send me that email, and we'll work something out. Thank you, Matthew Rowe. Good night, Josh. Sorry I missed your name. And Alex. Sea Smokes. I didn't see you come in, Sea Smokes. Sorry. And Josh came back in as well. Thanks, guys. Ron Hardcrackers Ward, right in at the tail end. Thank you very much for joining. Pipe John, thanks for joining. Wish you all the best, everybody. Catch you on the next one. I do have to do my Mike's review on Mystery Blend number 12. I have an inkling now that I'm not going to like it, based on what Andrew said, but we shall see. Mike up to his usual deviousness. Thanks, everybody. Catch you on the next one.